What if I told you that the thing people fear the most is not anger? It's not shouting, not rejection, not even betrayal. The deepest fear that grips the human heart is something far quieter, something that slips into the room without a sound. Silence. Silence terrifies, because silence is unpredictable. It's mysterious. It's like staring into a mirror that reflects not your face but your hidden weaknesses. And when someone you once thought you controlled suddenly chooses silence, when they stop chasing, stop explaining, stop feeding your ego, that silence doesn't just confuse you, it haunts you. Think about it. Words give us clues. Shouting gives us certainty. Even rejection gives us an answer, a boundary, a closure. But silence? Silence leaves the mind restless, searching, spinning in circles of what if and why. It forces the other person to wrestle with themselves in the dark, without distraction, without relief. Silence is the invisible weight pressing down on their chest at 2 a.m., when the world is quiet and their thoughts grow loud. Why does silence carry so much power? Because silence is not emptiness. It is a statement. It is presence disguised as absence. It is like a weapon sheathed, unseen, but always threatening. And the human mind cannot stand what it cannot predict. When you fall silent, the people who once thought they knew you, who thought they could read you, suddenly feel lost in a fog. They expected a reaction. They expected a fight. They expected you to break. But instead, you did something far more terrifying. You gave them nothing. This is why silence unsettles even the strongest. It is a battlefield where no words are exchanged, but every second is a victory for the one who remains calm, composed, unshaken. Silence flips the script. It forces the manipulator, the betrayer, the controller to turn inward and face the very truth they've been avoiding. They no longer have power over you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And what is silence if not the purest demonstration of this wisdom? When you go silent, you prove that your emotions are no longer at the mercy of someone else's games. You show that your peace cannot be bought, shaken, or stolen. Silence is not retreat. It is control. It is the highest form of mastery over the self. And when you master yourself, no one else can master you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to turn silence into your ultimate weapon. Not weakness, not avoidance, but absolute power. You'll see how silence breaks their illusions, turns their confidence into doubt, forces them to face their own reflection, and elevates you into unshakable strength. This is not theory. This is your blueprint. A practical guide for reclaiming control, for flipping the power dynamic, for living out the Stoic truth that strength comes from within, never from begging for validation. So as you listen, remember this. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power. And those who learn to wield it never again find themselves trapped by the noise of others. If you want to build inner strength, to master the art of control, and to never again let others dictate your peace, make sure you hit that subscribe button to join us here at True Stoic Way. Because this is where you'll learn to rise above the chaos and live with the unshakable calm of a true Stoic. Why do manipulators, toxic partners, or controlling colleagues thrive on arguments, on explanations, on emotional reactions? Because every time you react, whether it's with anger, with pleading, or with endless justifications, you are handing them evidence that they still control you. They push your buttons, and you light up exactly as expected. To them, your words are proof of their influence. Your reaction is the fuel that keeps their illusion of control alive. But what happens when you take that fuel away? When you do not fight, when you do not explain, when you do not give them the drama they crave? Their illusion crumbles. The story they built in their head about being in charge collapses, because suddenly, the character they thought they could control is no longer playing the role. Your silence exposes the truth. They are not the master. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who taught freedom through self-mastery, once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And this is the essence of silence. Every time you resist the urge to lash out, every time you withhold words that would only empower their manipulation, you are exercising mastery. You are free, because you no longer let them dictate your emotions. Think of a toxic relationship. Your partner accuses, manipulates, demands an emotional explosion from you. They want to see you cry, scream, or beg, because your reaction reassures them, I still matter, I still have control. But when you stay calm, when your response is not words but silence, the game changes. They are left facing themselves, their words echoing in a void, and the void is louder than any argument. Or imagine a workplace scenario. A colleague tries to provoke you in front of others, throwing barbed comments designed to make you snap. If you argue back, they win. They can twist your words, play the victim, and show others that you are difficult. But if you respond with calm silence, if you refuse to take the bait, they lose their stage. Their show ends before it begins, and all that remains is their own insecurity on display. Even in friendships, there are people who enjoy testing your emotions, poking at your vulnerabilities just to see you react. But silence takes away their entertainment. It forces them to realize their games no longer work, and without control over your reactions, they feel powerless. This is why silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. It is the clearest signal you can send that you have reclaimed control of yourself, and in doing so, taken away their imagined control over you. When you hold your silence, you are not retreating. You are declaring, I am no longer a puppet to your strings. Your quiet becomes a mirror that reflects their own fragility, their own lack of power. It forces them to see the truth they desperately tried to hide. You are untouchable when you refuse to play their game. And here lies the paradox. The quieter you become, the louder your message. The less you speak, the more their mind fills in the blanks. While you are building peace, they are battling doubt. While you are mastering yourself, they are losing their grip. So remember this. Silence shatters illusions. It doesn't mean you are ignoring reality. It means you are choosing to rise above it. And nothing destroys a manipulator faster than realizing they no longer control the script. If you've ever been in this situation, if you've used silence to reclaim your power, or if you wish you had, share your story in the comments. Let's build a community here on True Stoic Way, where we learn from each other's strength and remind ourselves that silence, when used with discipline, is not weakness but power. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And nowhere is this more true than when silence enters the room. When you go quiet, when you stop explaining, stop reassuring, stop feeding them with pieces of your mind, their imagination becomes their greatest enemy. Suddenly, the very confidence they once wore like armor begins to fracture, not because you attacked it, but because you refuse to give them the comfort of clarity. Here's the truth. People are not afraid of what they know. They are afraid of what they don't know. Knowledge brings certainty. Even bad news offers closure. But silence? Silence leaves a void that the mind cannot resist filling with fear. Every unanswered question becomes a source of anxiety. Every moment without explanation becomes fertile ground for insecurity. Imagine a business partner who once believed they had full control over the deal. They expected updates, reports, constant responses to validate their position of power. But when you choose silence, when you withhold that instant reaction, their mind starts racing. Did he move on to another partner? Did she find a better opportunity? Did I push too far? Each imagined scenario chips away at their confidence until doubt replaces certainty. Or, think about a friendship built on betrayal. The friend who gossiped behind your back may expect confrontation, arguments, or pleas for answers. But when you go silent, you deny them the release they crave. In their quiet moments, their thoughts grow heavy. Does he know what I did? Is this why he's not speaking? Will she ever trust me again? Your absence forces them into a spiral of self-doubt they cannot escape. And in matters of love, silence is perhaps the most devastating. A partner who cheated or manipulated expects fireworks, tears, accusations, desperate conversations. But when you offer nothing, no call, no text, no explanation, the silence becomes unbearable. Their confidence that they still mattered, that they still had a grip on you, collapses under the weight of their imagination. Did he finally realize he deserves better? Did she find someone stronger, someone wiser? Every possible answer terrifies them because every answer points to the same truth. You no longer need them. Psychologically, this is why silence is so powerful. The human brain craves predictability. It wants patterns, closure, control. When those things are absent, the mind turns inward and begins to cannibalize itself with doubt. What they once thought was solid becomes fragile. What they once thought unshakable begins to crack. And the best part? You didn't have to lift a finger. While they sit awake at night replaying the last words spoken, you are free. While they drown in self-created doubt, you are building strength in silence. Their confidence crumbles not because you attacked, but because you withdrew. Not because you argued, but because you chose discipline over reaction. This is why silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is not avoidance. It is dominance. By saying nothing, you force them to face everything. By stepping back, you shift the burden of explanation onto their imagination, and that imagination will always betray them. So remember this. Every time you withhold words, you plant seeds of uncertainty in their mind. Every day you remain silent, you reclaim power. Their doubt is not your responsibility. It is the consequence of their actions colliding with your discipline. If you believe silence truly is the art of strength, then show it. Hit that like button right now. Your support tells the world that silence, when mastered, is not emptiness, but power. And together, here at True Stoic Way, we will continue learning how to turn silence into unshakable strength. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a simple but profound truth. He who controls himself controls his life. This is the essence of self-mastery. Freedom is not found in dominating others, but in refusing to let others dominate your emotions. And nothing proves that mastery more clearly than silence. Those who seek to manipulate you often rely on one weapon, your reaction. They poke, prod, and provoke, because they know that if they can pull a reaction out of you, they still own a piece of your mind. They know that anger, begging, or even endless explanations signal that they remain in control of the script. But silence? Silence dismantles their entire game. Imagine this. Your ex expects you to beg, to plead, to send long messages late at night. That is their illusion of power, that you still orbit around their approval. But when you stay silent, when you choose no reply, their strategy collapses. Instead of confirming their importance, you prove the opposite. They no longer control your emotions. Or think about a boss who thrives on intimidation. They throw insults in meetings, expecting you to snap back, to lose your composure, to provide the outburst that proves their dominance. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, when you hold your silence with calm dignity, the power shifts. Suddenly, the spotlight is not on your reaction but on their behavior. The game they were playing has ended before it even began. This is why silence is more than absence. It is presence. It is the calm, unshakable presence of someone who owns themselves completely. By staying silent, you are saying, I am not a puppet. I will not dance to your tune. But here's the key. Silence is not passive. It is an active choice, a redirection of energy. The urge to react is real. The desire to fight, to prove, to explain burns inside you. Yet when you master yourself, you redirect that fire into building, not breaking. Instead of wasting hours writing messages you'll regret, you invest those hours in reading a book that strengthens your mind. Instead of shouting until your throat is raw, you lift weights and strengthen your body. Instead of chasing someone who devalues you, you create something, art, work, vision, that elevates your life. Every time you channel energy away from reaction and into growth, you are laying another brick in the fortress of your independence. You are proving that your worth no longer depends on their validation, their recognition, or their control. And that fortress is what terrifies them most, because it shows them a version of you they can no longer manipulate. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not running away. Silence is the ultimate declaration of control. It is the quiet voice that says, I choose my peace over your chaos. I choose discipline over impulse. I choose myself over your games. So the next time you feel the temptation to react, pause. Ask yourself, Does this bring me closer to strength or back into their control? If it's the latter, choose silence. Build instead of breaking. Rise instead of chasing. And if you want to build a fortress of inner strength, to live like a Stoic who cannot be shaken by the noise of others, join us here at True Stoic Way. Together, we rise above the chaos, not by shouting louder, but by mastering ourselves in silence. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." Respect is not earned through begging, through pleading, or through endless attempts to prove yourself to others. True respect is earned through consistency, through discipline, and most of all, through composure. And nothing demonstrates composure more powerfully than silence. When you choose silence, you are not running away. You are not surrendering. You are showing the highest form of discipline, the ability to remain calm when provoked, steady when attacked, and unshaken when others demand your reaction. That discipline is what forces people, even those who do not like you, to respect you. Why? Because people never respect what they can predict. If they know you will always explain yourself, always defend, always rush back into the chaos, then your value diminishes in their eyes. You become predictable, and predictability breeds contempt. But when you go silent, when you do not react as expected, you introduce something far more powerful: unpredictability. And unpredictability commands respect. Think about it. In a heated online argument, the one who keeps typing, ranting, and defending themselves looks desperate. But the one who says nothing, who walks away without needing the last word, holds the real power. People may not admit it, but they respect the restraint more than the noise. Or picture a family conflict where tempers flare and voices rise. Everyone expects you to jump in, to defend your side, to add fuel to the fire. But you remain calm, silent, and present. In that silence, others are forced to reconsider their own words. They see you as the one who cannot be dragged down into petty quarrels. And in that moment, respect begins to grow. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Even in the workplace, silence can shift dynamics. A colleague criticizes you unfairly in front of others, expecting you to argue back. But instead of taking the bait, you choose silence. You refuse to justify or explain. That silence lingers. Others notice. They see that you are not desperate for approval. They see that you have the discipline to stay above the noise. And whether they admit it or not, respect follows. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the ability to say, "I will not waste my energy where it is not valued." It is choosing dignity over drama. And dignity, once displayed, commands respect from everyone, even your adversaries. So the next time you feel the urge to defend yourself, pause and ask, will this raise my value or lower it? If the answer is that it lowers your value, then remain silent. Respect is not built by chasing it. It is built by proving, through action, that you don't need to chase at all. Comment these words right now to solidify this lesson. My silence earns respect. And let it be a reminder, both to you and to others in this community, that silence, when chosen with discipline, is not retreat. It is power. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom in this sense isn't about controlling the world or bending others to your will. It's about controlling yourself so fully that no one else can dictate your emotions. And when you embrace silence, you flip the power dynamic in ways that words never could. Before, they thought they had control. They thought they could provoke you, push your buttons, and predict every reaction. They relied on your need to respond, because your response was proof of their importance. But when you go silent, everything changes. Suddenly, they are the one waiting. They are the one refreshing their phone, replaying conversations in their head, wondering why you haven't returned. The silence puts them on edge because the script they counted on no longer exists. Think about it. The moment you stop chasing, the roles reverse. You move from the passive position, the one reacting, to the active position, the one controlling the pace. You are no longer at their mercy. They are now at yours. They must wait, wonder, and guess. And in that uncertainty, power shifts. Psychologically, this works because mystery creates weight. The less you reveal, the more others project. The quieter you are, the more others assume. And the more they assume, the less power they feel. Human beings crave certainty. When you deny it through silence, they start to unravel. What once felt like control slips through their fingers, replaced by fear of the unknown. This is why silence is not retreat. It is a weapon that tilts the entire board in your favor. You are no longer running after answers. You are no longer proving your worth. Instead, you are showing, without saying a word, that the balance of power has changed. Picture a romantic relationship where one partner always expected you to come back, no matter how many times they disrespected you. Your silence proves them wrong. Or think of a workplace conflict where a superior thrives on intimidating others. Your silence denies them the reaction they crave, and suddenly, they are exposed. Even among friends, when someone thrives on provoking you for attention, your silence robs them of their stage. In every scenario, the result is the same. The power shifts. So when the urge to react rises, remind yourself, the one who speaks less often holds more weight. The one who can remain calm, steady, and silent becomes the one who dictates the terms. Power belongs to the calm, not the desperate. If you agree that silence is power, drop A in the comments, and let it stand as a reminder to yourself and others that silence doesn't just speak, it dominates. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Silence is not only about unsettling others or breaking their illusions of control. Its greatest gift is what it gives back to you: space. When you stop pouring energy into defending yourself, chasing validation, or engaging in pointless battles, you free that energy for something far greater, your own growth. This is the part most people overlook. They think silence is only about punishing the other person. But the truth is, silence liberates you. It clears the mental clutter, it lifts the emotional weight, and it gives you the breathing room you need to become stronger than you were before. While they are trapped in doubt and regret, you are rising, quietly and steadily, into a version of yourself they never saw coming. Think of it this way. Every hour you spend explaining yourself to someone who doesn't value you is an hour lost. But every hour you reclaim through silence is an hour gained, an hour to train your body, sharpen your mind, or build the life you want. Over time, those hours accumulate into transformation. Silence is not empty. It is the most productive investment you can make in yourself. Consider a failed relationship. They may spend their nights replaying the past, wondering if you will return, tormented by their own regrets. But you are not stuck in the past. You are at the gym building strength. You are reading books that expand your vision. You are creating opportunities that make their memory irrelevant. Your silence isn't just absence. It is the foundation of your rebirth. Or picture a toxic work environment. Colleagues may whisper, speculate, or wait for your reaction. But instead of wasting energy feeding the drama, you stay silent and channel your focus into your craft. You improve, you innovate, you rise higher. Eventually their noise fades into the background while your progress speaks louder than anything you could have said. This is why silence is so powerful. It is not just the denial of energy to others. It is the redirection of energy to yourself. It is the quiet training ground where discipline is built, resilience is forged, and clarity emerges. In silence, you realize the truth. You were never losing them. They were losing you. And as you rise, something remarkable happens. Your silence becomes proof of your evolution. You no longer need to announce your growth, because it shows in how you live. They may still be caught in cycles of regret and self-doubt, but you've already moved beyond them, building a life that speaks louder than any explanation ever could. So hold your silence not as punishment, but as power. Let it be the space where you plant seeds of growth and water them with discipline. Because in the end, silence isn't about what they lose. It's about what you gain. Follow True Stoic Way to learn how to turn silence into the firm launchpad for your rise. Your greatest transformation begins not with noise, but with stillness. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." Silence is that mirror which reflects not what people want to see, but what they have been running from. When you go silent, you strip away their distractions, the arguments, the explanations, the justifications they depend on to shield themselves from the truth. All that remains is their own reflection, staring back at them with unflinching honesty. And here is the torment. In that silence, they are forced to face themselves. The mistakes they made, the words they cannot take back, the betrayals they hoped you would overlook. Without your voice to soothe them or your presence to validate them, their mind becomes the courtroom, the judge, and the punishment all at once. Think about it. When you stay silent after being wronged, the other person begins to replay every conversation. They ask themselves, was I too harsh? Did I cross the line? Did I push them away for good? Their imagination magnifies every error because they have no new input to soften the blow. What they once dismissed as not a big deal becomes unbearable in the silence that follows. The absence of your words becomes louder than any confrontation. If you shouted, they could shout back. If you argued, they could twist your words. But with silence, they have nothing. No defense to dismantle, no noise to distract them, just their own guilt, reflected endlessly. Consider a broken friendship. Instead of dramatic fights, you withdraw in silence. At first, they may act indifferent, but as days stretch into weeks, that silence becomes unbearable. They wonder if they were the problem, if they pushed too hard, if they underestimated your worth. And the more they wonder, the more the truth gnaws at them. They are facing the consequences of their own actions. Or imagine a manipulative partner who thrived on your emotional reactions. Without your words, without your attention, they no longer have fuel. Left alone, they must confront the reality that the chaos they created now belongs solely to them. They wanted your reaction to escape their own guilt, but your silence forces them to sit in it. This is the liberating part for you. While they are trapped in endless replay, you are free. You no longer carry the burden of explaining yourself, of trying to make them understand, of wasting energy on someone unwilling to change. Your silence hands responsibility back to where it belongs, on them. So remember, your silence is not absence, it is a mirror, and in that mirror they must face themselves, their weakness, their fragility, their failures. That is why silence terrifies them. Not because they miss your words, but because they cannot escape their own. Have you ever used silence to make someone confront themselves? Share your story in the comments below. Here at True Stoic Way, your voice helps others learn how silence, when mastered, becomes the most powerful reflection of all. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This wisdom cuts directly to the heart of why silence matters. Every time you choose silence instead of arguing, instead of justifying, instead of lowering yourself to prove a point, you are making a declaration. I value myself. Silence is not simply the absence of words, it is the presence of self-respect. When you refuse to explain yourself to people who dismiss your worth, when you stop chasing after those who take you for granted, you are telling the world, and more importantly, yourself, that your dignity is not up for negotiation. Silence becomes the clearest boundary you can set. Think about it. When you walk away from someone who treats you as an option, you are not just ending a toxic dynamic. You are raising your standard. You are showing that you will not tolerate half-hearted effort, manipulation, or disrespect. And in doing so, you do not just prove your worth to them, you prove it to yourself. This is the true power of silence. It creates standards not only for how others must treat you, but also for how you treat yourself. By refusing to bend, you reinforce the belief that your time, your energy, and your presence are valuable. That belief sets the tone for every relationship that follows. People either rise to meet your standard, or they lose access to you altogether. Consider someone who constantly demeans you, expecting you to keep defending yourself. Every defense lowers your value in their eyes, because it shows you are still seeking their approval. But when you go silent, you stop giving them the luxury of explanation. They are forced to see that your worth is not dependent on their recognition, and whether they admit it or not, they feel the weight of what they've lost. Or picture walking away from a romantic partner who belittled you. Instead of long goodbyes or desperate attempts to make them understand, you leave in silence. That silence is not weakness. It is your standard. It tells the next person who comes into your life, "This is how I expect to be treated." Silence, then, is more than strategy. It is a statement of identity. It is self-respect embodied. Each moment of silence says, "I choose myself over your comfort. I choose my dignity over your approval. I choose peace over chaos." If you agree that silence is a declaration of self-worth, comment these words now. My silence is my standard. Let it be both a personal reminder and a public commitment to never again lower your value for someone who cannot see it. We have walked through 8 undeniable truths about silence, and each one has revealed a deeper layer of its power. Silence breaks their illusion of control. You stop feeding their manipulations and show that you are untouchable. Silence turns their confidence into doubt. Their imagination becomes their greatest enemy, while you stand calm. Silence proves you're in control. You master yourself and dismantle the games others try to play. Silence builds respect. Discipline and composure command respect far more than arguments ever could. Silence shifts the power dynamic. By refusing to react, you turn the tables and force them to wait, wonder, and fear. Silence creates space for your rise. Instead of wasting energy on chaos, you invest it into your growth. Silence forces them to face themselves. Your absence becomes the mirror that reflects their weakness and guilt. Silence proves you value yourself. You set standards for your life that no one can lower. Taken together, these truths form a single message. Silence is not weakness, it is power. It is the discipline of the Stoic in action, the practice of controlling yourself when the world demands you lose control. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of silence. You cannot control the noise of others, but you can control your response. And in that choice lies your freedom. When you embrace silence, you build a fortress around your mind, an inner citadel that no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can penetrate. Silence is like a fortress, strong, unshakable, and secure. From the outside, others may throw stones, but they fall harmlessly against the walls you have built with discipline. Silence is also like a deep river, calm on the surface, yet powerful enough to carve through mountains and carry away everything in its path. Those who mistake silence for emptiness fail to see the strength it conceals. So let your silence be both your shield and your sword. Do not waste your words on those who do not deserve them. Do not scatter your energy on those who seek only to drain it. Instead, live your life as proof of your strength. Let your dignity, your growth, and your unshakable peace speak louder than any argument ever could. If this video has helped you see the true strength of silence, hit that subscribe button right now and join us here at True Stoic Way. This is the place where we rise above chaos, not by shouting, but by mastering ourselves. And don't keep this message to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to reclaim their power. You never know whose life might change simply by learning that silence is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. Stand firm. Stay silent. Rise stronger. Because in silence, you are unshakable.